Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle as to
The
strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very good morning. Thank you for staying with us here on Global Morning. I'm Uyag Mofwegbe. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's always a delight to have you join us here on our program. Let's get to the discussions on the road. Several developments coming out of the country from end to end this week. And today, and of course, the entire weekend is quite a special one. Special and eventful, I should say, because all eyes are now looking towards 3 states in particular. Incidentally, these are 3 states within 3 different geopolitical zones. So there's Bayelsa, for example, there is Imo, and then, of course, there is Kogi. 3 states where we have off-cycle elections. These are 3 states that do not conduct their gubernatorial elections alongside the 4-year general election cycle in Nigeria. But interestingly, we understand that first, for Kogi, the governor is not seeking election. It's not standing for election because he's wrapping up his 2nd term in office. In the case of Bayelsa, the governor is standing for election because he's seeking a 2nd term in office. And then for Imo, that's pretty much the same situation, given that Governor Hope Uzodinma, himself a former senator, he's also standing for election to return to office for another term. The 2nd and last term of 4 years in the event that he wins, for example. But then there's something peculiar about each of these 3 states. First is in the case of Bayelsa, we saw how that the APC candidates had been delisted by INEC following a court order. But then that order was reversed by a higher court, which has now said, look, former Governor Timi Silva should be if you like, reinstated as the candidates of the All Progressives Congress in the Bayelsa State governorship election. So all of that is history now. And that is in the south of the country. And then you move to the southeast, this case, Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodinma is asking Imo people to give him another 4 years in office. It has become very interesting because we saw what had happened with Labour in the course of the protests in that state. We saw how Comrade Joe Ajaro got battered. And then, of course, the police have come out to clearly say, look, we didn't arrest him, we didn't batter him. All we did was to take him into what the police authorities call protective custody. How protected he was remains to be seen. The government, on the other hand, of Imo State has said, look, we are not party to whatever happened to the national president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajaro. In any case, he was even meddling in the politics of the states. They say Comrade Joe Ajaro with his Labour leaders have turned the protest, their demonstration, into a partisan initiative. So that's a strand in the conversation. And then, of course, you come to Kogi State. We're seeing the spate of violence, the spike in violence coming out of Kogi State. Just about 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, I should say, we saw what happened to the candidates of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Ajaka, and we saw the number of lives that were lost and those who got brutally injured. I mean, in that same incident, in fact, there was a press conference here put up by Ajaka, and then, of course, the police authorities have also been duly informed. We understand that arrests have been made, but the question is, how will this all turn out? What are the implications of these developments for not just these 3 states, but Nigeria, and then indeed for our democratic experience as a country? In the middle of all this, all eyes are also on INEC, saying, look, we do not want a repeat of the anomaly that we had seen with the last general election 2023. We do not want to hear about, if you like, all of these technical problems with IREV, with the beavers, with the dynamics around upload and collation of results, and so on and so forth. So INEC too has been up and doing, reaching out to key stakeholders, critical players in the space, just to ensure that these 3 elections are not only seen to be successful, but they must be, even as the president himself has said, credible, free, fair, transparent, and equitable. But then these 3 elections apparently stand as a litmus test for the Independent National Electoral Commission. We'll move on from that and we'll look at the state of the nation with regards to the economic realities that we're dealing with. Away from, following the removal of fuel subsidy payments, we now see what inflation has become. We now even see projection of how inflation could even shoot further right through the roof unless very drastic steps are taken as quickly as possible to check inflationary trend. In the middle of all this, the president, right from when he took office, has made very frantic efforts, home and abroad, to ensure that the country attracts very significantly foreign direct investment. As we speak, the president is in the Gulf in Saudi Arabia, attending 2 conferences. The first is the Saudi Summit, the other is the Arab African Summit, all of them aimed at leveraging these platforms, harnessing these opportunities to drive economic growth for Nigeria. We want to have these conversations on the show with you this great Friday. They say a great weekend begins on a Friday, but first we're taking a break. When we return, we'll look at the papers for you. Let's begin, everyone, with the Nation newspaper for you this morning. We start with the big story right on the front of the Nation newspaper. It says, Uzodinma Keyamo CSOs, labor protest partisan. Okay, with 2 riders there. Osifo, we won't stop. Passengers stranded at Abuja, Lagos Airport, just right above that big story. It says, Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi 2023, all set for elections. Military warns miscreants to stay off. DSS cautions against inflammatory statements. Hotel scarcity leaves INEC officials, security agents stranded. That's on page 2. Okay, that's naturally expected. Hotels will be fully booked across these 3 states. Nigeria's oil supply to Europe hits 730,000 BPD. That's 730,000 barrels per day. Senate seeks sack of MDA bosses, ignoring summons motions. Umahi explains 21 billion naira vote for 3rd mainland repairs. Wike remains my principal, Governor Fubara declares. Okay, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia sign MOU on oil. gas investment. We understand the president is there to attend 2 summits. Yoruba in diaspora to Tinubu eradicates poverty. That call is timely. Some people would even argue long overdue. But let's look at a couple of headlines from the very fruits of the front page of the Nation newspaper. IG redeploys 14 AIGs, 26 CPS. Adeleke presents 273 billion naira proposed budget. Basically, those are the stories from the Nation newspaper this morning. But let's take a look at the Punch. That's our next port of call this morning. Above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, a picture of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation there. Okay, let's see. Border closure, businesses collapsing, northern communities, smuggling booms. Crude exports to Europe rise, FG boost local supply. Budget hearings, Senate demands sacking of MDA heads. Of course, you know the context within which the Senate president said that, because he's saying, look, if you are a DG, you are executive director, you are the head, the MD, whatever the nomenclature may be, of an agency of government. I mean, when we invite you to come give account, when we invite you to come defend your budget proposal, it's only common sense, it's only a matter of obligation that you should show up. However, where you refuse to be recalcitrant, where you refuse to spite the National Assembly, whether it's the Senate or the House of Representatives, where you refuse to make it look like the business of government is not serious enough or it's not a matter of priority for you, we would ask the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to reconsider your appointment as the head of your agency. And I mean, that's pretty much what it should be. People must bring that sense of responsibility and dutifulness to whatever role they have to play, whether it's in government or in the private space. That's pretty much the point that the Senate President was making. But then the big story on the front page of the Punch newspaper here says, off-season polls. FG tackles labor over strike, unions disrupt Imo flights. Okay, it has some 2 riders there actually. Okay, energy, FG Saudi sign MOU, Exim Bank, UBA partner on trade. Then at the bottom of it, Fashoranti, Adebanjo's Afenifere factions clash over Supreme Court verdict. Nigerian shot by Togolese soldiers seeks Tinubu's help. 40 AIGs, commissioners redeployed in police shakeup. That shakeup had better be for good in the overall interest of Nigerians. But then we need to look at the Daily Trust as well for you, the Daily Sun, I should say. That's our next port of call. From the side, just beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun this morning, Imo Guba, court rejects LP factions motion seeking to replace candidates. All right, we have that. What else do we have? A big story. Tears as Labour pickets Abuja Owerri airports. We understand that it was quite a challenge yesterday for people flying from Lagos. That's Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Then Lagos, the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, as they were stranded because Labour says what they want to achieve with this picketing, as it has to do with Imo State, is to ensure that flights leaving Imo State for other cities across the country or flying from other cities across the country into Imo are not, can't just get off the ground. And that's exactly what we've seen in very practical sense of the word since yesterday. But here is a writer that says workers stranded, airlines cancel flights. I mean, what do we expect? CSO demands a jail suspension investigation by the DSS. Then let's look at the left corner of Daily Sun this morning, the right end of the Daily Sun front page. Kalu floors PDP's Ohambuwa at appeal courts. FG to subsidize electricity tariff with 900 billion naira by December. Tension in Plateau, youth plan grand protest as appeal court delivers judgment today. Police allege attempts to raise court building in Jos. I've been abandoned, dying in hospital. Frank Kokori, ex-Nupen chief, cries out. FG OB clash over 2023 supplementary budget. Tinubu's government uncaring, insensitive, claims LP candidates. Budget pragmatic response to address economic challenges. Minister, work commences at Enugu collapsed bridge as Mba Umahi inspects site. All right, let's look at Daily Trust as well for you this morning on the front page of the Daily Trust. Explosion. Canada says visa centers in Abuja, Lagos remain open. 59 mosques destroyed in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. 14.3 trillion remitted to Federation accounts in 2 years. 24 hours to polls. Igala elders call for postponement to women protests in Bayelsa. These are the 3 states where we have up-cycle elections coming up this weekend, which is tomorrow. Travelers miss flights as Labour grounds Imo-bound planes. IGP storms Kogi. Military raises alarm on fake soldiers. Labour action inconsiderate, not treasonable. Yadudu. Protests won't hamper Saturday election. INEC. That's reassuring coming from INEC, but incidentally, INEC alone does not organize or, if you like, conduct elections. DSS reads Riot Act to troublemakers. Again, that's with regards to the election in these 3 states. Students threaten strike over tuition hike in Ogun. CJTF commander, 4 others killed in Borno mine blasts. FG flags off resettlement homes for Benue IDPs. And then a blueprint, the big story says 24 hours to Kogi Imo Bayelsa polls on the Blueprint newspaper. Parties bicker, military wants talks of injurious consequences. Troops neutralized, 113 terrorists arrested, 300 in 1 week. That's according to DHQ. PDP cautions riggers. ICPC deploys operatives. Ododo SDP alleged arrest of supporters in Kogi, police clarify. FG to construct 10,000 housing units in FCT. Police redeploy 14 AIGs, 26 CPs in major shakeup. FG lashes that will be over comments on 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget, says appropriation bold pragmatic response to pressing issues. RMRDC upgrading technology for share butter production to boost exports. Liquidation, NDIC pays 1.393 billion naira to depositors of 110 MFBs, others. All right, what's more, let's go take a look at another paper this morning. That's News Direct, our penultimate paper. News Direct's top of the nameplate says, bill to create CBN board chairman skills second reading. Russia-Ukraine crisis. Nigeria looks to Europe to increase sale of crude oil. Infrastructure development. Abiodun tasks capital market operators on fundraising collaboration with state government. That's a timely call. Operation Liberty, Labour grounds flights in Abuja airport. As expected, that story is replicated across dailies today. And finally, let's take a look at Business Day. Let's follow the money for you real quick this morning on the show. Just above the nameplates, Abuja City Project hunts for $300 million to reverse Jagba. Okay, Champs, CWG, MRS, Transcorp hotels surpass 600% returns. Stock market gains 10 trillion naira in 10 months. Domiciliary accounts add $5.72 billion in 1 month amid weaker naira. Okay, Sanwo-Olu seeks $1 billion. I should say, okay, Sanwo-Olu seeks $1 billion for Film City. Others, ARF, all right? Okay, so that's the much we're bringing your way this morning with regards to paper headlines. We do hope you find time. It's a Friday, all right, TGIF. Okay, find time to look at the papers, read up for yourself, stay ahead of the news today and always. We're taking a quick break now. When we return, you will meet my guest. I'll put our 2 discussions on the road for you.